In the span of only 6 years, Game Mills somehow managed to pump out 3 Nickelodeon Kart racers, although to be fair, licensed shovelware is their specialty, and something that gaming had kinda left behind for a few years with the ever-increasing budgets of the 6th and 7th generations, but has since returned largely thanks to improved digital storefronts. Well, the third one is out. That one doesn't yet cost $5, so today I'm going to talk about Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix. Pretty sure that the first also had Grand Prix, but sure. Nick Kart Racers 2, as a 2020 game, is on all the usual suspects: Xbox One, PS4, backwards compatible on both of these console sequels, the Switch, and PC. Nick Kart Racers 2, unsurprisingly, is a kart racer, very much attempting to be Mario Kart, playing in the ballpark of that game, but on one of those days where they bring the little league in for a fundraiser or something. The basic gameplay is there. You drive, collect items, either boost, traps, or projectiles, and kinda uniquely, not all boxes in this game are fully random, with certain boxes labeled to either give you only weapons, only utility stuff, or only traps, which isn't the worst idea. The one thing that really makes this game feel terrible is how bad the drift is. Half of what makes Mario Kart 8 feel so good is how tight, precise, and fast the drift is. Yeah, it's preceded by a hop, but that hop lasts like a quarter second. Nick Kart 2 precedes its drifting with what feels like a full fucking second of a hop, more of a leap almost. It's insanely disorienting in a way that's kind of hard to describe if you don't feel it for yourself. You have this urge, like Mario Kart, to swing wide, then pitch back in, then pull out to widen the arc, you know? Here, that's not really an option. You're gonna drift the wrong way into a wall. Even when you go the right way, the drift is extremely fixed. The arc is extremely linear and hard to control, and it's frankly so bad that the optimal strategy is to play like a baby and just drive. The game is packed with characters who have a variety of stats in top speed, handling, drifting, and turbo, and only top speed is useful, and even then the drivers barely feel different, but Shredder is meta, apparently. The characters come from a variety of shows, although it does skew towards older, more nostalgic ones, which is kind of odd given I don't know how much nostalgia there is for playing a bad kart racer, and this seems like it should be more marketed towards modern Nickelodeon fans. SpongeBob has SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, and Squidward. All 4 Ninja Turtles made the cut: Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Leonardo, plus their rival Shredder. There are 3 Loud House characters. I know nothing about this show, but Lincoln, Lucy, and Clyde are present. Tommy, Chucky, Angelica, and Reptar represent Rugrats. Arnold, Gerald, and Helga represent Hey Arnold. Rocco's Modern Life has Rocco and Heifer. Zim and Gur from Invader Zim are present, both Ren and Stimpy from Ren and Stimpy, Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Korra from its sequel, The Legend of Korra, Cat Dog from the self-titled show, Danny Phantom from the equally self-titled show, and JoJo Siwa from real life. She was on Dance Moms or something, then became a live-action Nick star, but also had like a cartoon or something that played about her dog. And now she's a pop singer, I guess, and all I know about her is like Daily Mail articles I see on Snapchat where she yells at people at Disneyland while drunk. I don't know, it's all a little weird to me. I'm too old for all that. As with character choice, vehicle customization feels largely superfluous. There really isn't much to add here. Everyone kind of feels the same, and even though you can customize all the different parts of the car, it never really feels like it has any impact. I think it has something to do with how characters don't have weight distinctions, maybe? Like the heavy characters don't feel heavy and the light characters don't feel light. One innovation the game has is assist characters, which are a unique and neat idea, if a bit underwhelming. Each racer gets 1 chief character and 2 support characters. The chiefs offer a chargeable ability that essentially functions as an item, like a booster or weapon, or something in between, and which is charged by driving through slime or collecting coins that are scattered across the map. The supports are passive abilities that charge over time instead, and have some real neat effects, like giving you an additional item after you use one and there's a support for basically every item, or giving you an automatic boost on charging your chief meter, among plenty of others that are more or less impactful. As a whole though, these are an impactful part of the game, unlike the character selection, and a pretty fun bit of character customization in general, especially given how nothing else feels like it has an effect on how the game plays. You can kind of min-max builds around what you're going for and using like a chief character who has a boost and a character who gives you a boosting item after you use any items, so you can kind of chain boosts and play fast the whole time. It does mix up the character selection a little bit. Had the game been generally better playing and feeling, these may have made this game stand out on its own a bit more. Tracks are also a mixed bag, maybe a bit of a sticking point. I think they tend to have too many hazards in general. Not that other kart racers don't also have track hazards of all kinds, but they're usually more slow moving and predictable, like the womps in Mario Kart, which rise and fall in a steady pattern and remain fixed in place. Some of the worst ones in this game include the small golden wheels that quickly roll back and forth in the Atlantis stage, which also has a gold track, making them blend in on top of their erratic movements. The cows that wander back and forth on the Ren and Stimpy mountain track, which, well themed, are really hard to judge, and the Krangs that appear on the Ninja Turtles New York stage, which kind of chaotically block certain paths off entirely and appear at the end of jumps where you can't see them. While I think the courses in the game are generally decent, it is a recurring issue that they also tend to be a bit cluttered. The Grand Prix is split into 7 cups, most of which are just collections of tracks, going through all of them in the game, although the final is kind of weird as it reuses 3 tracks from other cups. I guess the ones that they thought were the hardest, but also the JoJo Siwa one is here, which is pretty easy, so I don't know. And it ends with the aforementioned kinda bad Atlantis stage. Going through these Grand Prix unlocks several things. Finishing, and every placement above 3rd unlocks vehicle parts and support characters for use, which is a cool reward, and getting first also unlocks a new character, the one the trophy is themed after. Outside of the final cup for whatever reason, whose trophy is themed after Slime, despite unlocking Ren from Ren and Stimpy, because I don't know, this game's weird, I guess. Beyond this, there's the basic modes that you would expect. Single races, multiplayer, including online multiplayer, a battle mode, which acts incredibly similarly to Mario Kart's, in that you're thrown in a small rounded arena and duke it out with items, although it is cute that the battle course is based on Double Dare, a game show that helped fill time slots for early Nickelodeon when they had a very narrow roster of shows, and Time Trials, which also unlocks support characters and parts, although no characters are tied to this mode, thankfully. There's also a slightly more unique mode, the Challenge mode, which contains a series of small, self-contained challenges, like winning a race after getting a full drift boost 10 times, pass, or shooting targets in a time limit, and each one of these unlocks a support character, and after doing any 3 in a section, allows you to do a boss race to unlock a new character. Most of these challenges are mediocre at best, and some of them are quite painful, especially when compared to the similar mode found in Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, but the boss races are generally decent, offering little twists on standard races with harder opponents, especially the final boss race against Shredder on the New York Skyline stage, where every lap has the course become increasingly covered in every possible Krang at once, and forces a lot of focus and quick thinking, if being a bit frustrating. So I guess I'll call the mode a slight net positive to the value of the game. The game is a bit all over the place visually, partially because it doesn't attempt to match the cartoon styles, and instead goes for a cheap and flat 3D look, and to be fair, it works fine enough for most characters. The Ninja Turtle ones and Avatar ones especially look pretty decent, and even the SpongeBob ones make it out okay, although as the characters get more stylized, they come out pretty rough, especially poor Ren and Stimpy who look even more freakish than usual in 3D. Characters also entirely lack voice clips, which makes the game feel, I don't know, a bit empty. All these characters have dozens, if not hundreds of episodes of television, and it feels like they just cheaped out on paying the actors when there are so many archival clips that could have been slotted in perfectly fine if you didn't want to bring them back. And I know that they would have to pay them for those archival clips, but still, I can't imagine that the cost would have put a serious dent on this. A lot of personality is lost without the voices that really define a character, and combined with how little character choice feels like it matters, it makes choosing a character feel pretty nebulous, even if it's something you really only notice when it's gone. You never really notice Mario going woohoo, bing bing when you're playing Mario Kart, but not having it there, it's starkly noticeable. Effects are also fairly weak, with unexciting results from boosts and items, which makes selling the speed a lot harder and makes the game feel kind of slow-paced in its own kind of odd way. That said, the stages do some heavy lifting for the game, and there's lots of nice, varied, and memorable themes throughout, like the Goo Lagoon boardwalk from SpongeBob that cuts through the jellyfishing fields, which is very vibrant and colorful, the air temple from Korra, which is full of spinning obstacles, Cat Dog's house, which is incredibly stylized, and Danny Phantom's ghost zone, which is loaded with ghost portals and spooky things and obstacles. Also, despite being cringe, JoJo Siwa's LED narcissist nightmare is kinda cool too. It does make the game at least a little satisfying that you get to see so many classic areas represented, and even the ones that are less recognizable as from a show, like Zim's Space One, the Ren and Stimpy Mountain, and the Loud House Haunted House, are pretty well themed and fun. The music is fairly generic, not unpleasant, but I'd guess that like the voices, licensing the music was pretty low priority, so you get fairly stock music sounding, but decently fast-paced tracks that leave very little impression but serve their function passably. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 Grand Prix is a fine enough Mario Kart at home. It kind of forces you to play like an idiot, it's a little empty and awkward, but it has a decent enough selection of track themes and a few neat ideas like the support characters, plus it goes on sale for nothing all the time, so I guess if you're itching for a kart racer and don't have a Switch on Mario Kart 8 somehow, you'll get a decent bit out of it. There's enough modes to have a decent time, and the challenges are a mixed bag, but a neat mode to kill some time in, although it's been done better in a few other kart racers. Nick Kart 2 pales in comparison to Mario, Sonic's, and Crash Bandicoot's attempts at the genre, sure, but it's the most serviceable and cheap game that you can get in this genre, and had its production values been even a little bit higher, on the voices especially, and if they went in and fixed drifting and made it a little less uncontrollable and awkward, you'd have an all-around decent game on your hands. And I know Nick Kart 3 at least fixes the voices thing, although I have no idea if it's touched up the drifting at all. I would certainly hope so. If you can get it for cheap, you'll have an alright time, but if you've got other options, there's really no reason to touch this over almost any of the other big kart racers.